easy and convenient. Of course, we want to see your smiling face anytime we can, but if you're in a hurry, Hancock'sNeighborhoodMarket.com is the way to go. Hancock's Neighborhood Market, Cadiz.
B&C Unique Boutique is now open in the Princeton Plaza, offering boutique fashions, footwear, and accessories, sizes small to 3X. New fashions arriving weekly. Check out the personalized items they can customize just for you. Current special on Candleberry candles, 25% off. Shop in person Monday through Friday, 10 to 6, Saturday, 9:30 to 3, or 24/7 at shopbcboutique.com. Local shipping rates or curbside pickup. B&C Unique Boutique in the Princeton Plaza. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram.
1580, 103.3 WPKY. And, of course, we got Shane Bogel in the house this morning from the Caldwell County Extension Office. Good morning, Shane. How are you?
Good morning. I'm warm.
I'll tell you, it is just... it wasn't offensive this morning like it was a couple of days ago. I hit the porch, and it was just offensive. And that was before the sun was even up. So, I mean, this isn't offensive yet. But I get the feeling by this afternoon it probably will be.
Humidity is of the devil. I've said that.
I'm going to tell you. You know, everybody says, don't question. I'm going to tell you what, I got a couple of questions. What's up with this humidity and red wasp? I don't understand that.
Well,
Me and St. Peter are going to have a talk one day.
Life goes on, and in humid weather, it still goes on. Here in West Kentucky, in an agriculture community such as we live in, life goes on.
It does.
Our guys are still out there doing what they're supposed to do, but, you know, we've had to change things a little bit, the way we have done our educational programs the last few months with this. And
you all done good at that, though.
I think they have, university has really responded to that call and give us the tools that we've needed, and our specialists have stepped up. I hear you'll be having one of those on here in just a few minutes.
Excited.
But as a tie into that, yesterday was day one of the corn and soybean virtual field day online. And that started at 8 o'clock yesterday morning and went to a little after 10. I sat in on that virtually on the computer. It was a wonderful program. Of course, normally we have the field day, the corn and soybean and tobacco field day that's going on about this time, usually up about the next to last week of July. And that would have been a warm day to have been outside yesterday for a field day. So we got to be in the comfort and still hear the great presentations that they had. It was a great day, and some of the information that you're going to be talking about with Dr. Weiss here in just a few minutes was talked about yesterday. But day two of that will be next Tuesday on the 28th, will be phase 2 of the integrated pest management portion of the corn and soybean virtual field day. And for those that's interested, you do need to pre-register for that. And I think yesterday there was about 150 folks that was on that Zoom meeting that was signed in listening to that. And you can get your certified crop advisor credits and pesticide applicator credits for any of our commercial applicators out there. And that's what the pre-registration is about. You'll put in your certification number so they can make sure that you get credit for that day. But next Tuesday, Dr. Weiss will be talking a little bit more about the corn disease update with our southern rust. What's your number? Managing soybean cyst nematode populations. You know, in the late 80s and the 90s, soybean cyst nematode was a big money hungry beast for soybeans here in West Kentucky, and that's just a little very small worm that lives in the soil that decreased our soybean production. But newer varieties have come along that are resistant to those things, but we still have some races of those that are still causing problems out there, and folks are not testing and looking for those near like they did in the 90s. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Is it causing you trouble? Maybe it's time to start testing again, and a certain amount of those tests are free through the Kentucky Soybean Promotion Board. That the producer needs some of those tested. All they got to do is let me know, pull the soil tests, and they are turned in and tested. Also talking about weed control. That's a big thing in our soybeans. We've heard about the dicamba restrictions and things going on. Well, we've got a lot of weeds that are pretty nasty to control here in West Kentucky, especially the closer to the river bottoms, our side of the county. And, you know, we're all the time looking for the next best thing that's going to help on that weed control.
Well, you know my least favorite one. I mean, he and me are enemies.
And that's not an agronomic one that we see in fields that really causes agronomic, but that's in the grand scheme of things, to you, that's important. And to our livestock producers, that is very important.
You know, this year it hasn't been as bad, I don't think. And I don't know if that's the weather.
It is definitely the weather. We have had enough rainfall to keep pastures actively growing. And see, right now, we would normally be in our summer slump.
Right.
We would not be having the rain that we're having, 2 to 3 inches every week. Everything is actively growing and staying green, so that does not favor those type of weeds. It's when we graze down and we don't have anything else there, that's the weed that's going to come up.
But that can get us too, though, can it? Because we can't really go out to spray when it's pouring down rain.
Well, it's a little harder, but we can. It's just folks don't notice them as much. If it's all green out there and everything is green, you're not seeing what is really out there, because those weeds are out there. I have seen them.
Oh, I know they're there. It just doesn't seem like they're in abundance as much.
But our animals are not eating those because they have enough desirable things out there that they're being able to eat.
We rotated our fields good, Shane.
Right.
And we didn't overpopulate them.
Taking that advice, I like it. And it's hard to think about it, but pre-harvest chores, we'll be thinking about some corn harvest. Some tobacco has already been harvested in the county and hanging in the barn already.
And I think that's crazy because a lot of people planted late, right?
We had some late,
early planting year.
And we do have a newer tobacco that's being raised in the county and in western Kentucky. It's a wrapper leaf tobacco, and it does not require the length of growing season that our dark fire, dark air cured, and burley does. So, yeah, it's about 2 weeks after topping, it's ready to be harvested.
Wow.
So we are seeing a little bit more of that in our fields. And if you see something that looks like, well, that's a cross, it looks like kind of like burley, but it also looks kind of like dark, that is probably our wrapper leaf Pennsylvania type tobacco that several producers are growing.
There's that research paying off, huh?
Well, that's also farmers looking for new ways and new things, to make money. And we're used to raising tobacco in West Kentucky, and that is a viable option now.
What is that old saying about a maple tree that bends? It's a little. That's what your farmers do. And I've never seen a group of people that can change and bend and flexible.
They've got to.
But they've got to. I don't see how they do it.
Well, if any information on this corn soybean virtual field day, I tested it again this morning. If you type in University of Kentucky corn and soybean virtual field day, it will come right up. Your pre-registration information is there, plus your link for your Zoom to sign on the day of that meeting. And like I said, yesterday was very good. There was plenty of time for questions. It was very interactive to be on a computer. It was still interactive. And we got to hear from some specialists. We're used to hearing from our folks out here at the Research Center because those folks also have an extension appointment. So they are out doing county meetings and helping support extension. So they're doing research there, but part of their work is also extension. So they're going out and delivering that. Well, we have a lot of researchers on campus at Lexington that only do research. And we don't get to hear from them quite as often on what they're working on and how it applies to us, because those extension folks are the ones that end up delivering that. We got to hear from a couple of just researchers. One of them I didn't even know yesterday.
Oh, wow.
That was fairly new, but I did not know that she was employed by the university.
That makes it nice, though.
Oh, it was a great presentation. It was something we don't normally think about, and it was the impact of delayed planning and tools for producers, and it was related to water on hillsides where, this time of year, it's feast or famine. In the low places, we've got plenty of moisture. Erosion, we got plenty of moisture there, and it's growing. Well, up on those hillsides, when it gets dry, it gets dry, and it gets dry fast. And our soybean populations or corn populations need to be lower on those hillsides. There's no sense in putting the same population up there because you're not going to get the value out of that. And this was a good presentation talking about the relation to that and how this precision planning pays off.
It's some things with farming. It's the craziest things that you have to think about that you don't think about. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I'm wasting money putting that on the top of that hill. Why didn't I think of that? And that can actually save you a lot of money in the long run, just noticing those sorts of things.
That's right. And I try to talk about things that I get the most calls on, and it is still stress and decline in woody plants. We've already talked about that once before, but I have probably done 20 visits since I was here last of this type of thing. I thought we might talk a little bit more about that today, and some just why it is so doggone hard to decide and to decipher what is wrong and why it's wrong. And this new publication, I think I've mentioned this last time, but it's ID 50. Anybody that wants this publication, it's called Stress and Decline in Woody Plants. And this is a nice color
that is
publication
nice.
that talks about all of the factors and how they can all come together to make the perfect storm for woody problems in our landscapes.
Well, especially right now with all the saturation of the ground. Man, we lost a cherry tree, my dad did, that was a gorgeous cherry tree, and a willow, and it's from a lot of these storms that now, normally probably would not have gone on and lost it, but with the saturation of the ground, it really makes it a lot easier for those to topple over, I think.
Well, woody plant stress has many causes, and that's what's hard for us as we go, and especially if somebody just brings a sample in. That's why I talked if people are out in their yard more. We mentioned that last time, so they're seeing this decline a little more firsthand, that I do want to see that site. I want to see what's going on because there is so many factors and conditions. Typically, one of our more primary stresses cause this type of problem. So one thing happens, and then it's a snowball effect. More and more things come. And this publication goes through just about all those things that people just do not think about. This one of the first little articles on here is a Norway spruce that two are standing right side by side one another. One of them is dying and one of them is fine. And they're right next. It's on the same site.
Were you at my field? I mean, that sounds like
this is going on countywide.
Not?
It's going on countywide. But plant ecology and physiology plays a lot in that, leaves and photosynthesis. And as we're losing canopy and losing parts of the tree, that plant is not able to take up the nutrients that it needs to, and just slowly it declines.
Well, and some things pick on like the weak one, kind of like a bully, right?
That is definitely right.
Target.
That is definitely right. Common signs of stress and decline: thinning canopy, dead limbs, lichen growing on bark or on branches. You know what lichen is? Kind of like a mossy.
I thought I did. No, I'm not sure.
Lichen growth on branches or trunk is always a sign that the tree is not as healthy as it should be.
Really?
Yep.
See, I would have thought it was the other way around. I really would have, because, it's choosing something that tastes good is what I would have thought, but that's not the case.
But no, the tree should be healthy enough to fight off that type of thing, because that lichen is feeding off of the nutrients of that plant.
I didn't think about that, Shane Bogel.
Small and stunted leaves or shoots. One thing I've seen this year is severely declining, dying tree limbs. Like the part of the tree is green, but just over here in this section, there's this section that's brown. Could be so many different things.
Well, and some of them are big trees, too, and you don't want to cut down this big, beautiful shade tree for 2 limbs, but you don't want it to fall on your house either.
That is correct. And decline can happen, within a year's time, and it could take as many as 10 to 15 years for that larger tree to decline. And one thing that I have seen a lot this year is mechanical injury on landscape plants. And people don't really think about a weed eater or that lawnmower that they're going to try to get as close to that landscape plant as they can, and they don't see that deck, the grass distributor there, is clipping that every time that goes around. And that is usually the first thing that I look for when I go to look at trees. Roll bars on some of our commercial mowers as they're going on limbs, scraping, all of that adds injury and can, end up putting that plant in decline over time.
I had a teenager that was doing that for a while. You know what we had to go to? Instead of using the weed eater around the trees, what we've had to start doing, because even I was getting too close to them, is do the push mower, and then the rest of the way I would just grab the weeds and pull them by hand.
Well, mulch is a good way to keep. I do not mind coming up to a plant and having to pull mulch away from the trunk to look and see.
But I've heard that's bad. So what is the truth about that? Is that good or bad to have mulch around your trees?
We can have too much. We definitely can have too much, but for the most part, it is good because it's a weed barrier. It's conserving moisture. And if we do put it too deep up around that trunk, and there is already a problem on that tree, it can allow secondary pathogens in. But for the most part, mulch is a good thing.
Okay.
So a 2 to 3 inch layer, as long as it's keeping it as a weed barrier, we don't want to put it a foot deep or anything that we're restricting moisture and restricting things going down. But one thing that I have still seen, I looked at a tree just this week that was winter injury from last November, from that little short. We've already talked about that, so we are still seeing that. So
that flash freeze we had.
Yes. Yep. and the trees were actively growing then. We was coming out of a drought, getting ready to go into winter dormancy, and those plants said, hey, it's warm, it's pretty, let's grow a little more, let's open up, and then wham, that freeze
I'm going to pull audio from last year, because I remember you and I talking about that. Is next summer we're going to be talking about the effects of this, and now I got to go back and listen to that, because I know you and I did, so if you hear yourself later on, you'll know why.
Well, and the other thing that I see, woodpecker damage.
Are they that bad? Now, don't get me wrong. I've got one that likes to pick on a particular tree in my yard, and I think he's pretty, and it's not really a tree that I'm overly fond of anyway, so I just let him go to town because I think he's adorable. But
well,
I guess they're not adorable.
Drill the holes, and two reasons that they're doing that. Number one, they want the sap that they're drinking, so they damage with their peck, and they'll come back, and then they also collect insects that are under the bark. So if we have a stressed tree, insects are usually one of the first things that are going to take advantage of that stressed tree, from ants to boring beetles. So
them things are nasty.
So when those woodpeckers land there, they're like, hey, buddy, we got a buffet here. So they start pecking to pull those insects out. But they will also, and I did see this on a pine a little earlier this year, that they just poked a series of holes so the sap would run, so it would catch insects in the sap. So number one, they're drinking the sap off of it, and number two, they're trapping the insects. So if you see a lot of pattern of holes around a tree, probably that tree is somewhat compromised to start with, and that woodpecker may be moving in as a secondary, and probably keep watching that tree. It's probably going to go downhill even from there.
I really, I thought about, I just thought they would damage the tree from poking holes in it, but I didn't think about the fact that they might be actually scavenging insects, that could be why they're there.
And I saw a very interesting thing this year. Had never really thought about it, and we don't do it that often, but de-icing salts on our sidewalks. So we haven't had a lot of snow load in the last couple of years, but we do see salt used a lot more when we have snow load. But I looked at some shrubs along a sidewalk that was brown, about 2 inches off the ground, and it looked like somebody just took a paintbrush and painted brown 2 inches above the ground. And come to find out, that was de-icing salt. That was where they pushed the little bit of snow that we had to the side, and it was salt on that.
We had 2 bushes at church, Shane, and that's what it was, I bet you. Did you ever think about that, though?
Well, we see it a lot more east, where we have a lot more snow, and up north, it's a very common thing. We don't see it that often here, and that was my last thought. I was thinking of everything else other than a salt issue, but
I would have never thought about that. And because, you think about a lot of that stuff being dormant. It's not like the flowers are up.
These were evergreens. These were like boxwoods and arborvitae, something that's staying green.
So let's just say, for example, I had a bush or something in my garden that won't go away. Would that be a good? It's what you're telling me.
I think we can come up with a better way to get rid of it.
I don't know.
Because we don't want those salts to build up in your soil. They'll cause more problems.
Oh, I have literally yanked that thing out. I've chopped it down. I've done everything. I have tied a rope around it and yanked it out, and it's still come back. What do we do about stuff like that?
Well, we could paint the next time that it comes up, cut it off and paint the stump with straight Roundup and let it go through the roots. So undiluted Roundup. So take a paintbrush.
Oh, I started to say I've done the Roundup thing, but undiluted.
Yeah, so as soon as you cut it and that sap is there and it's running, paint it on, then it'll pull it right in and does, we call that the cut stump treatment, sorry. But when we cut that off, so it's still the plant, it takes a little while to realize that it doesn't have top growth, so that sap is still flowing, so it will pull that Roundup into it.
I will
do
that this afternoon. It's kind of a woody vine thing, and the more I yank on it, pull it, dig it up, hit it, kick it, whatever, it's like the more it likes it, and it just keeps coming back, and I can't get rid of it. I've sprayed it. I've done. I don't know. Finally, I'm just going to give up and train it to be pretty. I don't know, because it doesn't seem like it's a infectious thing or anything like that. It's just annoying.
Yeah,
it's the kind that gets around your gutters. And they won't go away.
Well, you might give that a try. And a lot of those viney plants like that, every little node underground where the root system is a daughter plant. So you chop it here, it just sends up another shoot here.
I'm going to tell you what, it's got legs to China, evidently, because that thing I've tried every way I can think of.
Well, try your cut treatment with that Roundup and see
I
if
will
that
do
doesn't
that
help.
because sometimes it's a method, I guess, in how you do. Because I have sprayed it, but I haven't actually painted it like that.
Yeah, this will be much more concentrated going into the root system.
He's the man with the plan. I'm telling you. I should have asked you about that like last year. Instead of, I think everybody's got that one thing that they just can't get rid of that's in their yard that they've tried so many times. But that's mine. It's a stinking vine. And my dad has even tried. My dad's been. This is the thing. It won't go away. Some people have, other things in their yard they can't get rid of. Mine is the spine. And I've finally just about given up on it.
Give this a try.
I think I will.
And then you can tell your dad you come up with it on your own.
No, I won't. I'll say, Shane Bogel told me. Did you hear him? And I'll tell you, coming up next, we're going to talk about rust. And that's something that I'm going to give her a little plug there before. And don't go anywhere because today is Ag Day, a big Ag Day for us. And this, unfortunately, is something that I think a lot of our farmers are really going to be dealing with. And I'll tell you, it was kind of a coincidence. I'm going to let her tell you, too. I hear in just a few minutes the dates on when everything was found, a year ago. And then today, it's quite a coinky-dink, I think. So
it is.
It's going to be interesting. And Dr. Wise is going to be with us in just a few minutes from the Wpky Research Center. Another one of those things that we're really lucky to have at our disposal.
Yes.
That's but that's where when you talk about soil sampling and plant sampling, those are the folks that really kind of bring that home, right?
They're the ones that support us.
So I'll tell you, anything else going on out there that you want to tell them about other than a phone number and how to get there?
Yeah, no, I think we'll have more next time we're on.
I'll tell you, their website is covered up. The ladies in your office have really kicked it out of the park over the last couple of months. I know they're doing a summer sizzling thing there, and they're doing a baking challenge during the month of July. Boy, your website is covered up.
Tell you what, it is fun being in there with all that cooking and stuff going on. So we always get to sample. So
he doesn't look like he's hurting. That's all. Hey, visit them out there on 62 West in Princeton. It's 365-2787. How about that? I won't even ask you for the phone number. I've got it in the little Rolodex in my head. But go on out and see them. And of course, are you doing appointments by appointment still, or how are you doing that?
That was best. Our lobby is open with restrictions. Of course, one person in the lobby at a time. And if we're there, we will take care of it. If not, we'll set you up a time. But you're more than welcome to call and set up a time as well.
Is the tub still on the front porch for plant samples and stuff?
It is still there, yes. But
okay.
Of course, the lobby is open. That's mainly for after hours. Lobby is open, so you can come in and turn that in directly to the ladies. And
when you think about just turning in it, one of my favorite posts that they've done on their website in forever is what not to do when you're turning in plants. So I love it because especially temperatures like today, you don't want to take the plant sample and then put it in a plastic container on a porch when it's 185 degrees out for 3 days till Shane Bogel gets there on Monday and goes, what did that used to be?
I like to schedule plants, not at a weekend on a Friday, definitely at the first part of the week where they can get to the lab. And lab is back open again. Of course, coming not to the general public, but for agents. So labs are back running, so we can get you results pretty quick.
Well, thank you, Shane. I appreciate it. Shane Bogel from the Caldwell County Extension Office. Give them a call, 365-2787. Stick around. We got a doctor, and she's going to be on the line with us straight from the Wpky Research Center next.
Need cash fast? ABC Finance is open with social distancing implementations in place. They believe it's more important now than ever to get a handle on your finances.
Hi, this is Jody Lamb at the Princeton ABC Finance location.
And this is Todd Morris at the Hopkinsville location.
At ABC Finance, we don't just provide loans, but we also provide valuable advice to help you get your credit in better standing.
Our friendly team of professionals has your best interest in mind. We celebrate with you when your finances improve.
We encourage you to like our Facebook page, ABC Finance Company. Many of those useful tips are posted daily on our page, including tons of community info and motivation for the day.
To view social distancing guidelines and safety measures, like and follow ABC Finance Company on Facebook. ABC Finance is located off Fort Campbell Boulevard in Hopkinsville next to O'Charlie's, then Princeton and the Princeton Plaza. Apply for loans online or simply give them a call. They'll take your application over the phone. ABC Finance, all loans subject to normal credit approval.
Out of an abundance of caution and in your best interest, public access to the Princeton Electric Plant Board office is restricted. Normal business operations will continue utilizing the drive-through window. Bill payments using online methods, bank drafts, and credit cards are encouraged. but checks and cash will continue to be accepted methods of payment. Utilizing the free online payment system from the comfort of your own home is both safer and more efficient for you. You will only need your account number, which is located on your bill, and a credit card or debit card to use this convenient feature. In an effort to help our community and assist our neighbors during this time of uncertainty, Princeton Electric Plant Board invites customers to call the office if they need additional time to pay their electric bill due to the loss of work. We appreciate our customers and look forward to working through this together.
Shop local, buy local, save big deals.
It's here. The Loyal Listener Big Deal Store is online and waiting for you to shop and buy gift certificates to local businesses. Go to WPKYonline.com. Click on Loyal Listener Big Deals. Here you'll find dozens and dozens of gift certificates. Some you'll even be able to redeem from your smartphone. Shop and buy 24 hours a day and save a ton of money in the process. Save on oil changes, dining out, haircuts, car washes, and more. Our store never closes, but you better hurry. You never know how long each deal will last.
Herb Hayes Furniture, always the best.
Herb Hayes Furniture and Mattress is celebrating their 59th anniversary and sharing their excitement by offering you store-wide savings. No down payment and 0% interest for up to 5 years. Open Tuesday through Saturday from 8 to 5. Get great savings today from your hometown favorite since 1961. Herb Hayes Furniture and Mattress, where you always get the best selection, the best furniture at the best price. On the Boulevard in Hopkinsville.
Always the best.
At First Southern National Bank, we place a high value on the well-being of our customers and communities. With that in mind, we are taking steps that demonstrate how much we care about you. Our drive-through lanes will be available for daily needs, while in-person services can be scheduled by appointment. Take advantage of our online banking, our mobile banking app, and a friendly team member answering your call. Visit fsnb.net to learn more. First Southern National Bank, member FDIC.
1580 103.3 WPKY. Flip that button real quick. I am very excited to have her on the air this morning. I think it's such a treat. And Dr. Kiersten Wise, are you there?
I am.
We're so excited to have you this morning. We feel really fortunate to have you.
Well, I'm excited for the opportunity. Thank you.
Well, unfortunately, I guess it's not a fun topic for everybody, especially the farmers that have got their crops out. Some farmers, and I know that doesn't affect everybody, but it does affect a large portion of Kentucky farms.
Yes. I wish I was talking to you with better news, but it's important news that we need to get out there. And that's that we have confirmed the disease southern rust in corn in a couple different counties in western Kentucky. Right now, we found it and confirmed it in Caldwell County and also in Davis County. And we have a few suspect samples that we're hoping to get diagnosed today to see how widespread it is in the western part of the state.
Well, I'll tell you, unfortunately, you and I had talked a couple of days ago. And again, if you're just joining us, this is Dr. Kiersten Wise from the UK Research Center. And one of the things that you do at UK is a lot of sampling and testing, right?
Yes. So a big part of my job is making sure that we're aware of the diseases that are impacting corn forages in western Kentucky, across the whole state, and making sure that we're getting announcements out to farmers so that they can manage these diseases if they need to.
Well, and ironically, you had mentioned that it was almost to the day a year ago, the last time that it was found, officially in Caldwell.
Yes. So we think about southern rust. It doesn't survive our Kentucky winters. So each year, this fungus is going to get reintroduced into Kentucky from our southern states. And we monitor that and we track that pretty closely. And it usually arrives mid-July. And I always say, when we're thinking about having that corn, soybean, tobacco day out at the research center, that's usually when we're usually going to find our first find of southern rust in western Kentucky. And this year was no different. So it's right on target for when we typically see it in the state.
Where, when you say it comes from, first of all, I know there are some of those that are going to say rust. Well, isn't that what you get on the tractor? Well, yes, but this is kind of a very infectious disease for corn. Is there any other plants that affects?
So southern rust on corn is only going to affect corn. Now, there's a lot of different rust diseases, and there's almost a rust disease for every type of plant. And some rust diseases are just sort of nuisances. You might see them out there, no big deal. And we actually have another rust disease on corn called common rust, and it's out there in our Kentucky cornfields, and we don't worry about it because it doesn't typically cause yield loss. But southern rust is a disease that can impact yields. And so that's why we really encourage farmers, crop consultants, to get out, scout, make sure you know which rust disease you might be seeing out there. Send a sample to Shane or your county agent and make sure you're getting a good diagnosis, because then you have some management options and can make an informed choice about whether or not you need to spray a fungicide.
Well, now, are we talking about a disease that only affects field corn, or is that sweet corn? Because we have a lot of people here that are, as far as trying to sell to consumers, we've got a lot of farmers out there that do sweet corn.
Yes, and this will affect sweet corn as well. So any type of, hybrid corn, specialty types of corn, this is a disease that can impact those.
Okay, now when you say it's a southern rust and that we get it from our southern states, okay, how does that happen? Because in my brain, the corn does not go on vacation.
That's right. So it's caused by a fungus. And this fungus, it can't survive in colder temperatures. And so actually it's going to die back. When our corn in Kentucky dies back, that fungus is going to die back with it. But it can survive in places like Mexico, southern Texas, and Florida. And then each spring it's going to kind of get build up in those areas, and then storms and wind currents and rain systems that move up from the south and come through Kentucky. They're going to actually carry some of those spores with them and deposit those spores in our Kentucky cornfields.
Okay, normally I would say that is so hard for me to wrap my mind around. And first of all, poor Florida, they get blamed for everything in the last few months. But, we just had an African dust storm. So I guess in my mind, now that I can wrap my mind around there's African dust on my car, I think I can get the whole spores from Florida to my field.
Yes. So, and we actually think of, when we start to see southern rust build up in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Arkansas, that's usually when we start sitting up and paying attention, because when we start to see the disease in those states, we know that it's going to be moving up in our area next.
Well, and the odds of, if it's in Caldwell and Davis, the odds of it being in Lyon and Crittenden and in other adjoining areas, and they just haven't found it or got the test back yet. I mean, what are the odds of that?
Well, the odds are pretty good. So it's probably fairly distributed throughout western Kentucky at this point. But the good news is that it is at what we would call low incidence, meaning that we're not seeing a lot of the disease in the fields. And so that does give farmers time to go out, scout their fields, and make a decision on whether or not they want to apply a fungicide.
Okay, now this is the other part of that where, you and I were talking about it. With our weather being what it is, not only are the fields so sloppy and kind of hard, you just sink when you get in there. And, especially if it's a low-lying area to begin with and it's kind of prone to being wet, which a lot of times is where this fungus grows, right?
So this fungus, it's actually not going to discriminate. It likes anywhere that is hot and humid and a little bit of moisture.
Well, then how, you and I had discussed that about it, crop dusting and things like that being an option, because getting in the fields right now in some areas it's going to be tough.
Yes. So when we have these wet conditions that also favor disease development, it can hinder spraying.
And then is that when you end up going to crop dusting?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the majority of corn in western Kentucky is going to be at a stage now where we might need a helicopter or an airplane to apply these fungicides. Okay, now if our field ends up with rust in it, are we looking at losing the entire field of corn? Is it just part of it? What kind of loss can we expect usually? Well, this is a very manageable disease. So I'll say that first so we don't scare anybody.
Good.
And it's really important that that management decision is going to be based on what growth stage your corn is. So we really want to be protecting corn that's between tasseling and milk stage. And so I encourage everybody to get out there, know what stage of corn what your growth stage is in your corn, and that's going to help you know whether or not you treat it. We do have some corn that's far enough along that we might not need a fungicide application to manage it, but we also have a lot of corn that's really in that spot between tasseling and milk that we might need to manage it. So get out, know your growth stage, be paying attention to if you're seeing it out there. And if you are and you have a high yield crop, that you might want to go ahead and apply a fungicide to protect it.
Okay, what if, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a minute because I want to know all sides of this and I want everybody to understand, what if, as a smaller producer maybe of sweet corn, especially with a lot of Wpks and a lot of farmers going out and picking it, should they be concerned about getting it on themselves?
So if I was in one of those operations, I would be scouting, and I wouldn't apply until I see it. So you have some time. And so that's what I'm trying to encourage farmers to do, is go out and scout their fields, because you do have some time. I always say when you see those counties turn red on our scouting map where we're marking where southern rust is in the state, the whole county is going to turn red for confirmed presence of southern rust. But that may mean that we've only found one leaf with one pustule in one field in the whole county. So it's maybe not as widespread as it looks on this map, but it is something we need to be out there scouting. And so if you see it out in your field, that's sort of your trigger to look at what's the weather doing. Is this a specialty crop? Do I need to be applying a fungicide to protect it?
That right there, I'm hoping will ease a lot of minds, because it's farmers when they get out, or gardeners, even just a gardener that's got sweet corn. If it's something that can just that's floating and growing in these type of, unfortunately, we're looking at a lot of hot and humid weather over the next couple of weeks. So that's something that's going to be on everybody's mind.
Right, and like I said, it is manageable. So we aren't expecting to see the type of yield loss that we have in past years. I think most farmers would remember 2016 when it came in and we had a very wet year and conditions were favorable for almost a month, and southern rust took off and was really bad and did a lot of damage. But in most years, so I'll say, last year, for example, southern rust came, it was hot, it was dry, we didn't have a lot of rain, and it didn't really do anything. We didn't see any impact on yield from the disease. And so it really is going to depend on that weather, how fast it progresses. And so, again, we just advocate scouting, knowing what's going on in your crop so you can do that decision.
Well, thank you for being with us. I will tell you, that's one of those things. I love that you can, kind of ease our minds, but give us all the facts at the same time. And, because sometimes just knowing can really make you a lot, it can make you easier.
That's right. Yeah. And I would advocate that if farmers have questions, they can always contact us, but you can also contact your county agent. They have a lot of resources and information on southern rust, from information about when to spray, what products to spray, how well they work. And so Shane and some of our other county agents in surrounding counties, they're really a good resource that you can go get information from if you have questions about this disease.
So I know that, eventually a lot that we're not going to be the only counties that end up, I call it popping positive for rust.
Right.
That, when those tests come back, are we looking at a lot more tests coming back, in a short amount of time? Or, if nothing else, what website, can farmers really kind of keep a watch on that?
Right. So our tracking system is called the Corn IPM Pipe. So you have corn.ipmpipe.org, and that's where you can find real-time observations and confirmations of where southern rust is in the United States. And our county agents, and we have this published, and so you can also just call someone with UK extension, and they'll be able to track you in the right direction, too.
Well, I'll tell you, I've heard that everything that you did yesterday was a huge success as well.
Oh, that's good to know. Well, we had.
I'll be honest. Shane Bogel was just here about 5 minutes before you were. So,
Shane's a good guy. But we had our first installment of our corn soybean virtual field day yesterday, and the second installment of that is going to be on July 28th at 8 a.m. And so that's going to be a really good opportunity to hear where we're seeing southern rust, what type of impact it's had, and how it's developed over the next week. So that way people can know, okay, is this something we need to be paying more attention to, or should we just continue on with the season? So that's a good opportunity to get some more information about this disease.
I really thank you. This is Dr. Kiersten Wise from the UK Research, and I'll tell you, to me, it's been a real treat. Because I've learned a lot today, and I think there's a lot of information that, maybe is outdated. Maybe that's the way to say it. Is it, and maybe it's just that, there is different types of rust, and, sometimes we all think about it as one entity.
That's right. Yeah, like I said, there's a rust for almost every plant. Some are no problem, but this is one that we need to pay attention to.
But not be terrified. We just need to make sure we pay attention.
No.
Okay.
Manageable disease. That's what I always say. This is a manageable disease.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate it again, Dr. Kiersten Wise, and let us know, how this progresses, and we'll be talking soon.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Of course, Dr. Kiersten Wise, we cannot thank her enough for being with us today. And I got to thank Shane Bogel, too, because he actually put me in contact with her. And, it was a excellent timing, I think, with everybody. So we had to pick on him just a little bit. But, between the Extension Office and UK Research, we have such a wonderful information base here, and we don't have to worry about guessing at things. We know things. I farm and I know things. That T-shirt, that's what she needs. But it's one of those that we don't have to guess about it, and that's nice. And we've again, I want to extend a thank you to our Extension Office in Caldwell and the other surrounding counties as well, because they've done an excellent job over the last few weeks at making these webinars and different things available to us so that we wouldn't miss out on the information, because farming and agriculture, that's got to keep going no matter what's going on. If it's a pandemic or, whatever is going on in the world, farming's got to keep going. So that is important. So just kind of keep your ears and eyes watched out. If you have any questions, again, our Extension Office in Caldwell is a wonderful location, as well as the other counties. But our phone number here at Caldwell County Extension Office is 270-365-2787. And again, Shane would be more than happy to help you out any way that he can. And so would the ladies over there. We appreciate Shane being with us. Of course, if you missed any of this and you're just now tuning in, that's okay. You can see the complete Coffee Talk later on in the afternoon. It'll be available on our website. If you miss any of that, or if you want to share it with somebody else and say, hey, wait a minute, this is the rust thing I was telling you about. So it's always, anytime you miss anything, including news, obituaries, weather, anything you can think of, it's right there on our website, WPKYonline.com. And don't forget, we're going to be out and about with the greatest comeback of all time. That tour is going to hit the road here in just a little bit. We're going to be on the road between 1 and 5 today, all over Princeton. Josh is going to be with me today, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. I've already been told that there is a tub of merchandise that's being taken with us. So I think that's going to be a whole lot of fun. So if you want to come out, have a lot of fun, and get in on some great deals. I've seen anything from books that are on sale to recliners you can set in and read those books to chicken sandwiches and barbecue and everything else that goes along with it. So you name it, we're going to be there today. I can even give you a great deal out at Purcell's on some tires on the way to get there. So come on out and see us. We're live pretty well all afternoon long with the greatest comeback of all time tour. So make sure you check that out. It's 1580 103.3 WPKY.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Health First Community Health Center.
And there's your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast for today. 30% chance of early afternoon showers. Should be checking in about 1 o'clock this afternoon if we're going to get them. But there is a 70% chance that it won't. So I'm going to hold on to that. Otherwise, mostly sunny, hot, humid, high 88 tonight. 40% chance of rain overnight, low 71. Of course, those chances of rain and thunderstorms are going to increase as the night goes on as well into tomorrow. And then on Thursday, those showers are likely, and that's on and off all day long. Actual chance of some flooding locally as creeks and streams start to go over what they can handle, high 85. And then on Friday, 40% chance of rain, mostly sunny as we get to the weekend, high 88. Those chances of rain continue through the weekend, as well as high temps with the heat index hitting 105. It is 78 at 9 o'clock on the dot, 1580 103.3 WPKY.
You Ride in Princeton wants you to know that while the way they have to do business right now may look a little different, they're still here to deliver the same great customer service they always have. They ask you to call for an appointment with one of their sales specialists. Call 270-365-3018. They have on the lot financing available, and you can also apply online at uridesales.com or in person. And they've updated their large selection of inventory. You Ride on the Marion Road in Princeton, 270-365-3018.
Life is filled with moments. Moments we share with those we love, worry about, and strive to protect the most. At Woodman Life, we provide life insurance and retirement